It's cold. Completely clean work surface can only mean one thing. New project. So, hidden away in this cupboard is the stuff that I've been collecting for this car for quite a while. And today we're going to move on to something extremely interesting. ECU. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Please stick around, see what you feel like it or not. Behind you, strategically hidden out of sight, is my project car. It is a Peugeot 206, hence the reason it's strategically hidden, because I don't want you to throw up in your mouths. If you've been watching the channel, thank you. You'll know that I've been having some troubles with the ECU on this car. If you're new here, there is an entire playlist. You can go back and watch it. But long story short, I lent the ECU to someone who has disappeared with my ECU. Now, because the car's been sitting for over a year, I really wanted to get it running on the factory ECU before I started wiring in the new ECU, because I'm going to have dramas probably with fueling, maybe with timing, maybe any number of issues, and I don't want to be diagnosing mechanical issues and also trying to tune in the new ECU at the same time. It sounds like hell on earth, but I can't procrastinate on this anymore. I need to move on with it. It's a new year, it's a new me. It's the same old me, but the shop's been rearranged. And I've got new neighbours who are somehow even noisier than the old neighbours, so it's new surroundings. But anyway, the first thing I need to do is probably going to be my favourite part, which is fabrication, because I need to mount this ECU, because I need to know its final location so I can lay the loom out and not have it too short or too long. So it's a 1500. I asked for a 750. So if you don't know the story on this ECU, the company that I work for owed me a bonus, and they can either pay cash and you pay tax on it, or they offer to just buy you product. And then they obviously don't have to pay the GST on it because it's a business-to-business transaction. It sort of works out better for both parties. So what they owed me was basically the equivalent of an ECU and a wiring loom and all the loom tube and a wideband sensor and all the gear that I needed. I wasn't going to do an ECU on this car, but because I basically got it for free, that's what I went with. But it looks like they've upgraded me to a 1500 for free, which is great. So this unit will do a lot more than what I thought my 750 would do. I've probably shot myself in the foot with some of the modifications that I've done now. However, I do want a very mechanical, very raw car. I don't want a lot of electronic doodads. Computers are not my thing. So this will do more than what I need it to do. And I need to work out what orientation I'm going to slap this bad boy into and get it mounted up, and then we'll carry on from there. Let's go. All right. I don't know why I walked off that way. It's over here. I need to work out orientation of this thing. I'm probably going to go up, I guess. This panel here has the ports for the computer for the diagnosis. So I kind of want them accessible. So yeah, I'll get some measurements of these mounting holes, and it probably says it somewhere, but why are they 121.5 millimeter spacing? Of course they are. All right, so if I make it 150 by 175, and I want it kind of 20 mil off the ground, so it'd be 150, 190, and then a flange to bolt it down, say 25 mil extra, so 240 millimeters by 175 millimeters, and I'll bend it up so it sits out off the floor a little bit, just for cooling reasons mainly. I don't want to bolt it directly to the floor, although, I mean, the floor's probably a pretty decent heat sink. And it shouldn't get too hot on the passenger side of the floor because there's absolutely nothing there apart from the brakes. But I just think it would be better off the floor a little bit. Plus, it'll give it a little bit of cushion from the jarring. I don't know how much effort I need to go to on this. I probably could just bolt it straight to the floor. But no, I think I'd prefer it up on a little aluminium plinth. And I've got the ability to do so. So let's move on with that. This is where a guillotine would come in very, very handy. If you've worked with aluminium, you'll know that abrasive cutting is pretty painful. Aluminium being very, very soft, it gets stuck in all the little holes in cutting and grinding wheels, which basically makes them smooth and not abrasive anymore, so they don't cut as well. There are soaps and oils that you can apply to them, but because I'm cutting through here, and aluminium's and also a great conductor of heat, so it gets extremely hot. It just burns all the coatings off really quickly. So it's a bit of a pain. You really want to cut with a toothed wheel, so like a bandsaw or a circular saw or something like that. The blade on my metal cutting saw is extremely blunt. I do have a new one. I could change it over and just whip through in a second, but it's out in the ute and I've got to change the blade and I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. All right, so what I've done here is I've just basically put it in the brake and just broken these lines because I need to bend these back the other way. Brakes don't like bending that close together. Aluminium also doesn't like bending, so I don't know how this is going to go. I bought this from like a metal supply, not a machining supply place, so it's just aluminium off the shelf stuff. There are different grades of aluminium which are better for machining, better for bending, better for welding. This is just what they had, so we'll see how this goes. But yeah, I need to transfer these lines over to the other side now, so I can bend those flanges back the other way, and we'll see how we go. Fast forward a little bit, this is what I come up with. Now, I spent way too long sanding and dressing this and putting this nice brushed finish on it, mainly to hide the fact that it was very slapdash. I didn't line up my brake properly. I know my brake is way too small. It was only ever bought for doing roll cage feet, and it works for that. I do have my eyes on a bigger one, but it costs money, and I'm currently walking out of my shoes, so I don't have money for that. Any sponsors that are watching, I'm very poor and very appreciative, especially if it's beer. But anyway, I dressed it up. I put a nice brush finish on it. I've drilled the holes to mount the ECU. It is slightly crooked, but you know, that's what you get. Now, I do have a lot of other stuff to mount down in the floor of the vehicle. However, I kind of want the ECU to be mounted separately. I don't know why. It's just an idea that I had. I am converting the car completely to analog, so I'm going to have a massive bank of relays. I'm going to have a bank of relays basically for everything. Probably not for brake lights, because I shouldn't need that. I'll need indicator, flasher units. I probably don't need indicators, but you can buy flasher units, pretty simple. It's not hard to put them on. I'll need headlights, probably low beam and high beam, windscreen wipers, preferably 3 speeds if I can do it, fuel pump, fans. So I'm going to need a pretty decent sized bank of relays, and I also need to put my wideband somewhere, which that's still sealed, so I'll leave that in there. But yeah, so I'll need to mount all that stuff beside it here, so I'll make a separate plate for that matches this one later. All right, so this is what I've decided on. It's over as far as it can go without hitting that. I'll measure it up 50 mil from that crease line and bolt it in. Now, unfortunately, the ECU takes an M5 bolt, which I don't really have many of. I found 4, but I can't find any nuts for them, and I don't like them, so I'll go get new bolts for that. The bracket, I can use whatever I want, so I'm going to go with M6, which is a bit more common, so that's where it's going to go. Leaves me room over here for my wideband and some relays and stuff. So let's get some rivnuts in. Now, of course, I don't have the proper tool for the rivnuts. I've got to do it manually. So I'll spare you that. All right. So, of course, I don't have the tool to install rivnuts because I'm cheap that way. If you've never seen these before, they're exactly what their name suggests. They're a rivet and a nut combined. So think of a regular pop rivet, which has got the ball in here. And when you pull the ball in, it basically bulges this section out here and creates a flange, and then has the top flange, and that sandwiches your parent material in between. These work the same way. This is your crush section here, and then it just uses a thread to pull it in instead of a ball, so then you can take the nut out and replace it, and it becomes, you know, a regular nut and bolt. It's just your nut is captive. So you've got this little flange here, and the flange you create is the only thing that stops this nut from spinning. So if you get a bit of galling or a bit of rust or whatever in here, and the friction on the bolt is more than the friction that these guys here create, then they spin, and they're an absolute disaster. Because I can get to the back of these, I can cut them off. If you can't get to the back of them, you grind this top flange off and you punch it through, and then it falls down into whatever, your chassis or whatever, and you can never get it out. But yeah, I can get it out. So I'm not happy about using them, but I can use them. So without a tool, the way to put them in is to get a fairly long bolt, and then you put a nut on, and then you want 2 washers. You have to have 2 washers. In this case, I've got 3, which is even better. And then you want to put your riv nut on at least 4 or 5 threads. If you go 2 threads, you'll just pull the threads out. So you want a fairly long bolt. And then you need to hold the bolt, stop it from spinning, and that will hold the riv nut and stop it from spinning as long as you put enough pressure on it. And then by turning this nut down, you're basically shortening the length between here and here, and the riv nut has no option but to compress or spin off. If it spins off, put another washer on or hold more pressure on it. You'll know when it's not spinning off, because it's really hard to start compressing. And then you just crank that nut down till you can't crank it down anymore, and that's about as tight as you'll get this fella. So let's go. All right, and this is basically what I've come up with. So the riv nuts in the floor, and I've bolted that down, and then I've got the harness up through where the brake booster used to go. I made an aluminium plate to cover that up with the grommet through. So I'll need to put another couple of bolts in there and work out a way to do them up, because it's a bit of a pain having to hold them on one side and do the, you know, nuts on the other side. I got the fuse slash relay box. We'll go down there somewhere with the wideband, and probably a couple of additional relays as well. So I'll mount all that up later. But that's pretty much the inside. Now, I need to obviously get rid of all of this. Most of this is superfluous wiring. What I'm going to do is I'm going to reuse a lot of the wires that are in here for the body harness, for like lights and stuff. The Haltech harness does the engine stuff. There will be a bunch of wires that I don't need on here, and there'll also be a few wires that need to go back inside the car. But yeah, so I need to now basically lay this on the engine, work out what's what, and start cutting them to length. It's really handy if you're doing this yourself, if you can get a pack of those zip ties that have got the little tag on them, so you can do them up and undo them, and that way you can sort of zip tie all these bundles together neatly. And then if you want to add a wire to it, you just need to flick them and run another wire through. You can obviously do it with tape and just keep layering up tape, and then when you come through to do it, cut the tape off, put your fittings on, that kind of thing. But anyway, yeah, I need to do up a bit of a wiring diagram for this so that I run the wires to the right place, and then make up a bit of a plan, because I really don't want single wires running anywhere. I kind of want them running in bundles. Now, I'm not going to do the twist on these things. You can buy, there's a few videos on it, by doing the motorsport wrap, which is, you know, sort of comes from aerospace, and it basically just relieves the tension on wires if they're going to be twisting a lot, because I mean the engine's going to be moving around in the car a little bit. I'm not particularly worried. This car's not going to be doing that many laps. It's not an endurance vehicle, and I'll leave a bit of slack there, and it can bend. I don't think it's going to fatigue. If it does, then we'll make up a new harness then. But you know, we're not at the highest levels of motorsport here. But anyway, it's Sunday afternoon. Unfortunately, I've got work tomorrow. I've got absolutely nothing done on my entire holidays, which sucks really bad. I was hoping to get so much more work done than I did, but laziness and whatever takes over. So that's pretty much all I'm going to get done this week. Again, another pretty shit video. Sorry. We'll get on to something more interesting next time around. Bye.